I am streaming now. Streaming. Streaming now. I'm going to turn that filter up. There we go. Oh, God. Oh, that's way too high. I don't know. I'm in the middle of this. If people are coming into this, I'll let them know. But I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. Da 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 da. We are live. Are we live? Yeah, we are. All right, cool. All right, let's gonna throw this up on. Share my thoughts. We're live. I'm gonna first I'm gonna turn this off. Oh, that was a big old kick. I'm gonna do a little tweet. Do a little twibbity tweet. Oh, this is rough. I have some fairly personal, really shitty news to share. And I don't know how to really do this. Oh, we're gonna change that. One on one weekend. One on one weekend. One on one weekend. One and one we're gonna wait for some people to hop on in to the to this because I want to make my personal announcement first. Okay. So, I'm gonna wait for some chatters to get in. I don't want to do this with like one possible computer watching. So when you're in, drop a line. Matt knows what's going on. Telling the Panther community this right at this point. Cool. There. Boom. 100. Well, welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit about the series this weekend. This past weekend, the East Ohio Western PA teams came in, the Ohio Pennsylvania border schools, Youngstown State and Robert Morris came to town. Youngstown State was without their leading scorer. Robert Morris was at full strength. It was a tough series. We ended up having, unfortunately, a split. You want to be able to get John, hi. You want to be able to go undefeated at home, and I did want to talk about that specifically this season. John, you're going to be part of this conversation because we're going to be talking about Cleveland State for a bit. The Panthers split their week just as they've done the last, every all 3 weekends of January so far. They split the road trip to Michigan at Oakland and Detroit Mercy. They split a road game at Fort Wayne and a home game with Green Bay, and then this week they split the Youngstown State and Robert Morris games. The Youngstown State, like I said, they're missing their EJ Farmer. EJ Farmer is clearly their best player, at least as far as like statistics are concerned. 14.5 points, 3.5 rebounds a game. He's their leading scorer. Maybe he's not like their best player, but he was certainly one of their bigger players that they were missing. And unfortunately, because of that, the game was closer than we were expecting. Milwaukee did end up pulling out, did make it a 15-point victory, but it was not an easy win, definitely, to be sure. Youngstown had 4 guys in double digits: Nelson, Maxey, Carroll, and Harper. Nico Gillette got held to nothing, which was pretty solid. Milwaukee was led by Faison Fields' 21 points, 9 rebounds. He had a double-double, 10 and 10 from JaMichael Stillwell, 18 from Themis Falks with 4 assists. Eric Pratt also had 9 and 4 assists. AJ McKee had 9 with 3 rebounds. And then things kind of just had a little bit of a fall off. The first half of yesterday's game against Robert Morris was a clinic on how to not come out excited for an opponent. Robert Morris was Robert Morris was jacked. They were ready to roll. They started strong. They built up a lead, but it was more that they were winning all the 50-50 balls in the first half. They were winning all the 50-50 balls in the first half. They were winning the offensive rebounds. They had 13 offensive rebounds in the game. The Panthers had 11. That's the first time in a long time that we've been out rebounded on the offensive boards. It was a big problem in the first half. They out rebounded us by 2 on the offensive boards, but it was probably more like 6 or 7 in the first half at least. The Panthers got some good games. JaMychal Stillwell did not have a double-double, but he did have 26 points and 7 boards. A couple nice steals, block. Unfortunately, both he and Faison Fields fouled out of the game. I'm going on 20 years of being a Milwaukee Panthers fan. I don't ever remember getting a home whistle in our building. Not that we should just expect it. It's just it doesn't ever feel like it doesn't ever feel like we're getting the advantage on the calls. There were some ticky-tack foul calls on Stillwell and Faison Fields. I do feel like both of them should have been on the court at the end of the game. Neither of them were because they both fouled out. Fields, after scoring 21 on Friday, scored 2 points on 3 field goal attempts in this one. I think that largely Milwaukee's problem is one that is self-created. I'm just posting this a few times on social media. God, how the hell am I going to talk about this? Yeah, Milwaukee did have 2 players foul out yesterday at home. They had JaMychal Stillwell, who's one of the top rebounders in the country, and Faison Fields, who's preseason all-conference. Both of them were definitely sorely needed. It does seem like Bart Lundy's rotation does not include Lyric Davis. So as far as players who can play the 4-5, he's got Danilo Jovanovic and Eric Pratt are 2 guys who, or not Eric Pratt, excuse me, Danilo Jovanovic and Johnny Lovelace Jr. The two local products. It seems like they are offensively, or guys who they feel like they can slide into the 4. Defensively, both of those are a little rough if there's not a true 5 next to them. Usually it's Fields or Duffy are 2 like true 5s. Jovanovic and Lovelace are more backups for Stillwell. Those were, they both played all right. I wish they would have taken more shots. Overall, just a tough one. And particularly because it felt like there were several windows that were opened for Milwaukee to go in and take a lead and, run away with it. Like Friday night against Youngstown, there was a point where Youngstown faltered. Milwaukee took advantage of it and got up by 8 or 9, and then that was it. They never really got close after that. On the flip side, Milwaukee was definite. Like they got down by 10 to 13. They were down for much of the game. Andy Toole, the coach for Robert Morris, gets one of the stupidest technical fouls I've ever seen. And when I say stupid, I mean he was stupid in getting the technical foul, complaining about like the most pedestrian garbage, and because of it, got a technical foul that cost some points, and Milwaukee brought it within, I believe it was 4 points at that juncture. After being down like 10 or 11, it felt like things were not. It felt like they had an opportunity there and they didn't. And then Robert Morris got ahead again by a bunch. And then it did feel like Milwaukee was going to come back with the last couple minutes. And then Stillwell and Fields both fouled out on just dumb calls. Ryan says, just felt like we had too many sloppy turnovers, especially the travels, to give Army the momentum right back. Yeah. I mean, when I am complaining about officiating, I'm not saying that the officiating lost us the game. Although in a 2-point game, it's hard to say that officiating wouldn't have done it. It's officiating alone would not have done it. Officiating alone would not have done it. I came here for the weekend review and your answer to starting football. I have an idea that I need everybody to shut the hell up about and not talk about. I will talk about it on this stream, and I'm also going to talk about why you need to not talk about it widely and like publicly, because I did something like this before, and it ended up I ended up giving birth to something that I did not want to give birth to. But anyways, with the Youngstown State game, or the RMU game, it wasn't the refereeing, it was sloppy play. It was losing all the 50-50 balls and not controlling the glass in the first half. And I will say what I said yesterday on my stream when I was walking back to the car, and that's that for all I've been hearing a lot of complaining about AJ McKee being in the game. People, I'm gonna get to it shortly. Pie in the sky. There is some personal news I gotta share, but like, I want to make sure I talk about the weekend first. It's hard when Faison is limited in minutes because of foul trouble, and part of that's on him. I do think that a couple of the early fouls were definitely his issue. No, I needed to walk, Frank, actually. Doctor's orders, I need to walk. But one of the problems that Faison has is he's one of those guys that pays too much attention to the ball. So as a post player in a guard heavy conference where you're not guarding the guy with the ball most of the time, part of the issue is, when the ball's going out there, if there is some kind of screen setting or running around, what Faison has the tendency to do is he tends to pay a little too much attention to the ball and then kind of like slowly get ready to bite on something. Except then he turns around and his guy is, cutting to the basket, or his guy is in position and he rotates just a little too late. He gets to his rotation a little too late. And instead of accepting that he's out of position and he should just give up the bucket, instead of that, he challenges when he's out of position and commits a foul. That was definitely his second foul yesterday. I can't remember the first one, but the foul trouble is partly on the refs, partly on Faison. Stillwells were dumb, but when you're aggressive in the paint, these refs that the Horizon League pays for, which are nothing. Hey, Stack, what's up? Hey, Shaw. When you get these just tough when they don't pay for refs, so you're not getting the cream of the crop. These are guys. Some of these guys will work Big Ten games. I don't think they're very good in the Big Ten games they work, to be perfectly honest. Most of these guys are not guys that are doing these. They're doing OVC. They're doing Summit League games. These aren't the guys who are doing a lot of Valley stuff where the pay is a lot higher. You're generally getting a better class of referee that way. Yeah, as far as the loss, one of the conversations in one of the private DM chats, and I mean, I'm in 8 or 9 of those at this point. One of the private DM Panther Twitter groups was talking about, we were having a discussion about like, it started on the message board with SRT Ford driver was, bringing it. Well, he brought up that like, Lundy, like you gotta win every game at home and you gotta win at least half of your games on the road in conference to win the conference title. And it made me curious. And so I actually went back to the entire 46-year history of the Horizon League Midwestern Collegiate Conference, Midwestern City Conference, to look at how everybody is to look at how everybody's done, every regular season champion has done. And while 24 of the 46 champions have gone undefeated in conference play at home, almost all of them happened before it became the Horizon League, when there were 8 or fewer conference teams. So you had 7 or fewer conference home games. And generally the Horizon League in the first 20 or so years had stretches where different teams were dominant. Xavier had a few years where they were dominant. There was the one year where Notre Dame did not count as part of the conference but played all of us in, what was it, 94, 95 or 95, 96. They were like an independent, but most of their conference or most of their schedule was Midwest MCC games. That one year they were dominant. Xavier had stretch of dominance. Evansville in the early 90s had a stretch of dominance. Loyola had a couple years in the 80s. A lot of these schools were going undefeated in in the smaller conference. Generally, the only school that's done it a ton since 2000 is obviously Butler. Since from like 98 through 2010, they had 6 seasons where they won every home game in conference. Milwaukee did it once. UIC did it once. Loyola, Wright State's done it a couple times actually. In the 06-07 year, when we dropped off right after our golden age, when Wright State and Butler tied for the title, Butler did not go undefeated at home, but Wright State did. One thing that I did notice is that Milwaukee was one of the schools that frequently burned, and we'll talk about Northern Illinois shortly too, Ryan. They were one of the schools that Milwaukee's one of the schools that would frequently be like the lone team to beat a team at home that won the regular season championship. Like in 2010-11 when Milwaukee, Cleveland State, and Butler, in the only time in conference history where more than 2 teams tied for the championship, and when the 3 teams tied in 2010-11, Butler and Cleveland State both lost home games to Milwaukee. And I've also noticed that a lot of times, like even when like Butler would lose, they'd be like, oh crap, Butler lost a home game to fucking 8th seed Loyola or like 6th seed UIC or something. It was really, it was a really weird thing. There's a thread on the Freak message board. You should check that out. The point is that I think you want to talk about losses. You don't want to talk about, what's the home record, what's the road record. Yeah, you want to win every home game, but you also want to win every road game. So the point is that I believe with 11 teams, so you have a round robin, 10-10, 20 games. I believe that 5 losses wins the Horizon League. Right now, Cleveland State has 1 loss, and luckily for Milwaukee, that loss is to us. So we have, at the moment, the tiebreaker in case that were to be a thing. The way the Horizon League tournament's set up, I mean, does it really matter if you're the 1 or the 4 seed? Like, there's not a whole lot, but if there's a fucking banner to win, I want to hang a goddamn banner. And I'm tired of everybody saying, well, 4 seed, 1 seed, it's all the same thing. Like, I'm nah, dude. I want to win. I want to hang a banner. Let's see. What else? What should we all right. So I have something to tell. Anybody who's been in chat should have some inkling about what's going on. The personal news that I need to share, that I want to share with you guys, is a couple weeks ago. Well, what is it now? Is 2 weeks ago today, I stayed home sick. I had what eventually turned out to be strep throat. I was off work Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, I was okay and went to work, felt fine. On Thursday morning, I woke up with a real hard pain on the left side of my back. It was 3 a.m. I went to the bathroom. I was peeing red wine. It was dark, and even though the lights were off, I could tell it was dark. So I woke up after going back to sleep. I woke up Thursday morning to get ready for work. And again, the pain was there. I took a couple pain pills, for the back, but I was still peeing red. So I took my wife to work, and then instead of going into work right away, I went to the urgent care downtown, and they told me that it was likely that I had kidney stones. I was not very excited about kidney stones because kidney stones are, from everything I've heard, extremely painful. They gave me this Flomax stuff to, widen the duct to make sure that everything was going through. They gave me a little strainer so that I could, strain my piss and catch the stones. And for a couple days, I was not catching anything. So I went in, I called on Monday last week. So a week ago today, I went into work, and I'll talk about this. I had a pain in my left ball. It felt like somebody was tugging on it, and not in a fun way. So I was uncomfortable, but I was going to live with it. I was just going to take, a pill and be done with it. But I was sitting at work, and within 20 minutes, it just got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I couldn't even sit anymore. I was like, this is just awful. This hurts. And so I called the urgent care guy, the doctor that had prescribed me stuff, and he's like, you should just go into the emergency room, because it could be torsion, where your ball twists a bunch, so the tissue connecting your ball to your urethra gets twisted up, and you could lose a testicle that way. And so I didn't want to lose a testicle. I like having 2 of them. I don't want to have anything in common with Hitler. And so I went into the ER, and the quick examination was good. You do not have torsion, but you do have pain. You have pain that's been in your back on the side, and you have pain in your testicle. So we should probably check that out. By the way, the Saturday night game against Green Bay, I was by the end of the game, I couldn't even stand. I was in so much pain. So, so they did a CT scan. They couldn't quite make out what was in there. They did an ultrasound. Did an ultrasound on my balls, which is fun because it was like a warm jelly, and I was being examined by the most attractive like tech in the world. I was like, stop, just thinking of like dead puppies and stuff. But then I ended up, they wanted to do another CT scan. And the other CT scan they put in contrast dye, so they put the iodine or whatever in my IV so that you could see what was actually going on. And I didn't have to wait for the doctor the next day, because I was with my mom after leaving the hospital, and my mom's a nurse practitioner. And so we were reading my chart after the stuff came through, and we were sure. And then going to the urologist on Tuesday last week confirmed it. I have renal cancer. I have cancer on my kidney, my left kidney. It's a slow growing cancer from what I'm told. A lot of, it's a high survivability cancer, so that's good. The problem is that, and also the abdominal CT scan show that it did not spread to my nodes. It did not spread to my it didn't spread to my pancreas. The downside to this, though, is that cancer to begin with just sucks. But it's huge. It's like the size of a softball. Essentially, the cancer has tripled the size of my left kidney, and my left kidney is not functioning at all. My right kidney apparently has fantastic function, so as long as that one is okay, and the kidney here is the only problem, that's fine, and it should be good. I have a CT scan tomorrow after work, again with the contrast dye, again, but this one is to look at my chest. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about this one, because while I did not see, it didn't show that it had spread to the nodes, didn't show that it spread to the pancreas or anywhere else in the abdomen. It is on top of the kidney, and directly above the kidney is the chest. And that's where they're going to do a CT scan on tomorrow. And I'm a little... I'd be lying if I said I was fine. I'm a little worried, mainly because, yes, it's a slow growing cancer, but it's so big that it's been growing there for years, or it might have been growing there for years. So I'm worried that it's went up into other spots. I'm a very big guy, but I've always had... I've never been slow because of my size. And by slow, I mean like I've never been slowed down because of it. You know, if I'm, when I go hiking, I'll run circles around people. I can play sports. I played basketball frequently north of 400 pounds, not something that has stopped me in the past. Um, but I've had sometimes my heart's felt a little rough lately. Sometimes I've had shortness of breath, and there's a concern there. So tomorrow night, I've got a CT scan. A week after that, uh, I have a new primary care doctor I'm going to, and she's going to do like a pre-op examination with me. Then Wednesday next week, I've got a MRI at West Allis, and then the surgery itself is on February 7th. I had been talking to Stack here, who's in chat. I'd been talking to Stack. We were both considering going to the Cleveland State game on Saturday, March 8th. I really hope he gets to be able to go to that because I can't. I'd never been to the Wolstein Center. I wanted to go, especially with Cleveland State doing so well in the conference. And I wanted to be able to. I like taking over a road gym with my voice. It's fun. So, um, this this program has always provided me with a great distraction from life. When my brother died a couple years ago, it was a good distraction. When I'm in the hospital with him, I could focus on, reading a book about basketball or watching the conference tournaments or the NCAA tournament. Um, when my wife had the miscarriage, I, my free time when I wasn't with her, I would dive into this stuff with you guys. Um, so I'm just really thankful that you guys are around. I'm not, John, I am not making it to Cleveland. March 8th is a day after my surgery. I'm going to be in the hospital. Best case scenario, I'm going to be resting at home. There's also a book that I'm going to show you guys that I read when my brother. I'm actually in the process of rereading it, and I would like to recommend it right now. This book is fantastic. It's called Cinderella Strategy. Look at the green screen thing. You can see through the green on the ball. So the Cinderella Strategy is a book by Graham Honecker and Jerry Logan. One of them works at Butler. One of them is just has some distant connection. Anyways, the book is about how Butler set itself up and built itself to get to the point where they could get to the Final Four, and then how they capitalized on it as an entire university to move themselves up and get themselves in position for the Big East and to succeed when they got there. I highly recommend this book. There is a lot of good stuff in this book. Call your local library and tell them to get it. I'm in my second read through of it, and I'm thinking about it because it was what I read in the hospital when my brother was dying. I do not intend on dying from this. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared at all. But I do know that a lot of times in life it's about, kind of faking it till you make it and kind of acting like acting like you're okay. Oh, don't make a hashtag out of that. Don't make a hashtag out of that. I don't want to be a hashtag. I want to be loud and in the crowd. It's cold as hell, but the doctor says I have to walk a mile a day. And most of the time I'm getting that done at work, but I didn't get any of that really done today because it was so damn cold outside. So I'm going to try and take the dog for a walk later, after I got about like half an hour left before I got to cut this short. So I do want to I do want to take the dog for a walk. Maybe I can get that mile in. I love you guys. I love all of you. I did tell some of you. I know that you guys can tell from the chat. But I have, most of my family knew. I started with my mom reading my chart and told me and my dad. Then we, I told my wife when I picked her up from work. I told a couple close friends. Went to the doctor the next day. Told the rest of them. I'm sorry, I'm just reading chat. I really appreciate you all. What I was gonna say is I don't intend on losing this. If the worst case scenario happens and tomorrow's CT scan shows that I'm fucked, I will give it the best I shot, and if I end up losing, I'll make a plea for everybody in UWM Nation to finally support the motherfucking program. That's my dying wish. So, I don't want to make this all sad. All right. All right. We're done being sad. Okay. There are two things I want to talk about here. Or three things I want to talk about. First off, Wright State and Northern Kentucky. I don't give a shit if they're in the middle of the Horizon League. They're going to be tough road games. First off, Wright State's got that big doofus. He's not going to make life easy. Brandon Noel is a fantastic basketball player. Things are going to be tough. It is not going to be the easiest game. Northern Kentucky, I don't even know if we've even won at Northern Kentucky since they joined the conference. It is going to be a hard basketball game to win. Granted, most of the time since they joined the conference, we've sucked. But that's not really like, we've won at Butler when we sucked. It's not like we can't do it. Those are two games that we don't have to win both of them, but if we win both of them, that is a huge damn deal. The bigger game is the following Sunday, a week from Sunday against Fort Wayne. Okay, New Year's Day without PBJ, we beat them. So PBJ wasn't even the best player on our team that year. Poor PBJ, man. He should have gone to Duke. He should have gone to Duke. He could have gone and played for Coach K at the end of his career. Instead, he chose to spend a year and just squalor with us. The poor kid. He'd probably be like on his way to being an all-star right now if he had gotten to play for Coach K. It is what it is. So the two things that were brought up earlier in chat. I had made a comment in one of the many Panther DM group chats. The comment I made was, I know how we can start a football program and afford it. So that I do believe I have that. I will say, for anybody who wants to go over the last weekend's games a little more, head to horizonroundtable.com. Mr. Pie in the Sky Coffee Dave did a fantastic job writing up the last couple games. Is this picture of Jovanovic, by the way, is this a picture that you took of Jovanovic from your courtside seat? Because you should give your ticket to me and then get a photographer credit. They'll just sit on the bench anyways. So I had an idea. And that idea also includes you guys not talking about this. I swear to God, do not talk about this much. And there's a reason for it that I will talk about as well. When Rick Costello, who was the athletic director, so we had Bud Haedy retired in 2009. George Kuntz, George Kuntz spent a little over a year, and then Rick Costello became the athletic director at Milwaukee. Rick Costello, the one thing that I would say that he did that was cool for the program, although he did two cool things. He also put up all those kids. He took care of the students at the Horizon League tournament in 2012. But he commissioned a feasibility study for starting a football program, as well as what would it take to start a lacrosse program, what it would take to start a ice hockey program at Milwaukee. If you read the feasibility study, you would say, why don't we have an ice hockey program? Because we should. It's kind of ridiculous that we don't. I'm not like a huge hockey fan. I do enjoy Admirals games. And that feasibility study was like, if you can average 2,000 fans at $10 a ticket, I'm like, they're like, you will be a profitable program, not just breaking even. And I'm like, we should do that. I don't know why we're not. Lacrosse, they figured would kind of be like Marquette's team, or which is something I will mention again later, or like our own soccer program, in that your height is probably looking at like 1,000 or 2,000 fans a game, and you're probably not going to be making the kind of money that would make that a profitable program because of the amount of games. It's not like hockey; you don't have potential for television revenue. There is not a conference that is very strong that you'd be able to slide into, whereas in the in college hockey we'd be able to slide into the WCHA. But lacrosse is a growing sport. Ice hockey is a growing sport. Both of those are revenue sports at some schools. Ice hockey is more revenue sport at a lot more schools. Wrestling, interestingly, was not part of the equation. But since Penn State started their program and the Big Ten became a thing, Wisconsin left the WCHA, WCHA is one of the one or two best conferences in hockey, and there's a Wisconsin-shaped hole in the middle of it ever since the Badgers left. So that one makes a lot of sense. Now, for football, The feasibility study said that we could safely assume that the university would be able to raise about $8 million towards starting a program, and that $8 million would, that would, about $5 million of that would be part of the starting costs of the team, and then you would have like a middling FCS budget in the first year, and then you'd have to make money to support it going forward. About $5 million a year is about what the stronger FCS programs like the Dakota schools, Youngstown, like the schools that we would want to be at the level of if we were in the FCS. We want to be competing for national championships, right? So those schools are spending about $5 million a year to move up a level to the MAC. It is about $5 million a year for MAC schools. Northern Illinois, I believe, is about $8 million now. So to get to the class of the MAC, you'd have to be a little higher. Of course, obviously, Northern Illinois is not going to be in the MAC very shortly. And I probably should have ended this with that as a segue into talking about Northern Illinois, but I'll get back to them later. The problem is $8 million is not enough to start a program for Milwaukee if we're doing it alone. We do not have a stadium. You could technically, when because of the new science building, the next construction project for the university is tearing down the chemistry building. The chemistry building is the one that butts up right against the south sideline at Engelman Stadium. Once you have that out, you do have enough, plenty of space to build and have some space around a new grandstand at Engelman Stadium. So if you so wanted to build say like a 5,000 to 7,000 seat football soccer stadium, you could do that. The problem is there are basically no amenities right next door. Our campus is unfortunately in a residential neighborhood. So anything significantly, larger than what we already have, which is our soccer program, and we're getting, 1,000 to 1,300. I think our school record is like 2,000 or something for a soccer game. If you're getting more than that, which I'd expect a football team at the FCS level, would probably be, 5,000 to 8,000 is what would be like the baseline of what I would expect us to be able to average. That level is that's a little too much for the space. It's not that you couldn't put a stadium there. It's that you'd have to put all this other stuff, and you'd have to do it around people's homes. And it just feels a little, it'd be one thing if this was like FCS, like non-scholarship football. If it was like Butler and Valpo and Drake, where you're like expecting to average basically what the soccer team averages. At that point, it's kind of like, what's the point of starting a football team? So like that wouldn't make sense. The reason that I'm bringing this up now, and the reason that I want you all to keep this very, very quiet. I have a space for the stadium. I have partners to build the stadium. Who in Green Bay should have started a football team a long time ago. I don't know why they haven't done it. Anybody in chat is a soccer fan. I know Ryan's a soccer fan. I know some people are soccer fans. I'm somewhat of a soccer fan. I'm more of like the every 4-year World Cup guy. I do pay attention to the Bayern Munich scores. I do watch a couple matches a year, but I'm really not like, because I'm more of like a what's Milwaukee's team. I'm the Milwaukee guy. I love Milwaukee. Brewers, Bucks, Panthers. There is Milwaukee Pro Soccer, the group that's trying to start a USL championship level team. Now, USL championship is the second tier of the U.S. soccer pyramid. MLS is at the top. USL championship is second tier. USL Pro is the third tier. The group that's trying to start it is led by Jim Kazmarek. He is the guy who owns Capco, the company Capco, the metals. I think they're the metal stamping. Anyways, Capco he built the stadium and started the Lakeshore Chinooks, that play by Concordia University, the Northwoods League team. He sold the Chinooks, and he started Forward Madison FC or SC or whatever, the flamingo pink and light blue soccer team that plays in Madison in USL Pro, which is the second tier, the third tier on the pyramid, second tier of USL. The plan was to, and as far as I know still is to, build a soccer stadium in Milwaukee for a USL championship team, roughly 8,000 seats. It's going to be going on Michigan west of 6th Street, between 6th Street and the Marquette interchange. In fact, basically the whole project hugs the Marquette interchange. They have a partner in Marquette. Marquette is going to be moving yes, Frank, they're building the stadium on Michigan. The Marquette is going to be putting their soccer and lacrosse teams in this stadium as well, so that this will be the home to Milwaukee Pro Soccer, Marquette Soccer, and Marquette Lacrosse. So those schools are, that school and that soccer team are planning to put money towards building a stadium and having that stadium. The plan was to build a stadium, build a small live venue for music and entertainment, and then have the rest of the space get developed, a la like the way the Fiserv Forum neighborhood got developed when the Forum went up, it's still getting developed. The whole Deer District, right? They have $10 million from the state that Tony Evers gave them, so to get the stadium built. That got shovels in the ground for a digging ceremony, right? So that they had like a breaking ground ceremony. They have not done anything since then. Their social media basically went dark in the middle of 2024. They used to be very active. They did a whole thing like name the team, help with the brand, blah, blah, blah. None of that ended up going on. They had the black and cream and light gray color scheme, which I implored I was like, university, you got to consider making cream part of the official color scheme of the university, because it should be our color. And I don't want a sports team to come in and, take that before we get a chance to like officially make it part of our color scheme. But that's not what this is not a branding conversation. The point is that Milwaukee Pro Soccer is, when you say Winkler was involved, you're talking about Bart? My boy Brett Winkler's brother? The problem here is that Milwaukee Pro Soccer has not been able to get the stadium going forward. and you should be able to see where I'm going with this. They're already talking about making this a multi-sport stadium in lacrosse and soccer. This is a stadium that is going to be built to be soccer specific. Soccer specific stadiums have been so let's see. Soccer specific stadiums in the US. MLS ones are generally around 20,000 seats. National Women's Soccer, the USL stadiums. They actually think they're actually going to list the Milwaukee. Oh, they don't. Oh, yeah. Proposed USL soccer specific stadiums. The Iron District Stadium in Milwaukee. Iron District Stadium is an 8,000. Oh, what am I talking about? I should throw this up here. Let me add a window. Iron District Stadium is a 8,000 seat soccer specific stadium currently under construction. No. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Once completed, it'll be home to the city's yet to be named USL Championship Club and the Marquette Golden Eagles soccer and lacrosse teams. Stadium will be located in the city's Westtown neighborhood on the corner of North 6th and West Michigan Street. Expected to be completed in 2026. It is now 2025, and there is not a single I-beam that has been sunk into the ground. Stadium was first announced in May of 2022. That is almost 3 years ago now. Housing a 3,500 seat concert venue and retail space. This is good. This was a good idea. The idea of Milwaukee being able to use a entertainment focused structure like a soccer specific stadium and use that to springboard development of the rest of the parcels around it is a very, 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 very good thing. It's 11 acres. They say it'll generate $40 million a year, create 600 jobs, $23 million in annual payroll. All of this stuff is kind of a joke because unfortunately none of it is happening right now. And I think the problem is that Marquette, because they're bringing their soccer and lacrosse teams, right? So the construction of this stadium is, the construction of this stadium is supposed to be like around like 10 million, or it's supposed to be like $20 million or something, or $15 million or something like that. It's going to be soccer specific. Soccer specific is cool because you get the overhangs, so you're protected from like the rain and stuff. A soccer field is wider than a football field. A soccer field is longer than a football field. So plunking a football field down onto this is not just possible, it should be easily done. We're talking about just look at that damn thing. That looks so cool. The other thing that's really funny is like they show this red brick building here. This red brick building has been torn down. And they show this structure over here that has not been turned, but it's already been developed into the new Milwaukee Tool headquarters. So you have this stadium that needs to be built. There's an actual hunger for a soccer stadium in Milwaukee. Ryan brings it up. NWSL team to Milwaukee. Hell yeah. USL championship team in Milwaukee. Hell yeah. There's the partners. In a perfect world, you would be able to have an on-campus football stadium, an on-campus basketball arena. On campus this, on campus that. On campus is not a doable space for us. That doesn't mean that we cannot play the game. We can't. We can and we should play the game. MilwaukeeProSoccer.com is basically unchanged. Oh, you know what? I should probably switch the audio to my headset.
Milwaukee is a city defined by work ethic, hard work, big ideas, communities coming together to build a more prosperous future. That's who we are. Milwaukee, this is your soccer club. It's a reflection of your grit, your passion, your love for the beautiful game. And even though we don't take the pitch until 2025, we need you to choose a club name that reflects the legacy and the prosperous future of the city we love. Milwaukee, MKE, the Cream City, home of the Hogs, Brew City, USA, the Good Land. Cast your vote and make your voice heard. Your soccer club needs to hear your voice now. What is that, Milwaukee? Vámonos, MKE. Come on, Cream City.
All right. So the last news was November of 2023. There is your partner. And that is where the stadium money can go to, right? That ain't shit. It's not getting built because they need more money. It's not getting built because they need help. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up for one very specific reason. One very specific reason. How many students do you think are going to go to Milwaukee if we have a football team? Students that would otherwise choose to go to a different school. Kids who decide to leave state, and kids who decide to go to Northern Illinois, or maybe they go to Whitewater for business. Maybe they go to schools in Illinois, schools in Minnesota, schools in Upper Michigan, schools elsewhere around the country. How many of these kids want the traditional college experience and they don't get it because they don't get it because of the, you know, they don't get the there's no football team here. So they don't have the traditional college experience. So they decide not to do it. I'm going to throw a number out there. It's going to sound ridiculous. Ryan says, having a football team was definitely a factor on where I went to college. Hell yeah. Was Lamar Jackson a quarterback when you were in school? Because Ryan went to Louisville. Sarah, you're a freshman. How do you think students would enjoy having a football team on campus? Is that something that students here care about? Your freshman year, Jackson was the quarterback. While Sarah's saying that, I'm going to say that as many as 5,000 students, and I also say that this is a conservative estimate, as many as 5,000 students a year, maybe more, would consider and enroll at Milwaukee because there's a football program, because it's a Division I football team. My reasoning is this. In 2005, in the fall of 2005, I was a freshman at Milwaukee. We are just coming off the Sweet 16. In the 3 years between my freshman and junior year, Milwaukee did not at any schools, did not make any major academic achievements or research achievements, and alumni did not have a major career thing that like was huge news, like when Satya Nadella became the CEO of Microsoft. The overall student population of like the student age, college age population of the Milwaukee region and the state and the country grew very slightly. It was already exploded, but it was from 03 to 05, it pretty much like tapered. And it was just like a tiny little bit more, like for you guys to be like this, tiny little bit more every year. I bring these things up to say that nothing happened here except our basketball team made national news and was the talk of the country for an entire week. Every single sports radio show was talking about us. Every single sports TV show was talking about us. The fucking Today Show was on campus. Everybody was all that. When I came on campus, the student population was about 24,000 students in the fall of 2005. We were the last class of students who had largely made the decision on where we were going to school before the Sweet 16 happened. By 3 years later, when that was the only thing that happened, there were 32,000 students on campus. We had grown by 8,000. And it was almost entirely because Milwaukee's was all of a sudden on the map. I'm telling you, read this goddamn book. We're mentioned in it. Milwaukee grew, and it grew because of the national success of our basketball program. Now, football is not basketball. Football's more popular. Football is basically national television no matter who you are because you're on ESPN Plus all the time and you're on the bottom line all the time. It does not matter. You get to the NCAA tournament. The final 4 rounds are ESPN2 or ESPN. I think the national championship game is on ABC, if I remember correctly. That's FCS 1AA. Where you're in the tournament, not at the Bulls, not like the Badgers, but if you're like the FCS, if you're North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Youngstown State, like those schools, they're on national television. And naturally, you're playing an early season game like at Camp Randall Stadium and getting the shit kicked out of you by 50 points, but like you're getting a paycheck for it. Like you're getting a paycheck to play that game. So Milwaukee has that was 8,000 students. I'm saying it's 5,000. So let's call it 5,000 students. You say, well, our club football team barely exists, Matt. Club football exists at like a handful of schools. Like Oakland has one, Wright State has one, Michigan and Ohio State have club football teams. I think that's our conference actually. But like you're talking about students doing everything and they don't promote their game. Yes, Sarah, we have club football. It's not like anything special. I'm putting it out there that I think that as many as 5,000 students would go to Milwaukee because there's a football program. You say, well, $5 million a year is a lot of money for a school that doesn't have a lot of, money. I agree. That's a lot of money to commit to it. To commit to something that does not have a 100%. One of the guys that with the fish, Tarek Schraith. Yeah, he's a wide receiver on the football team. Yeah, I started following the football team and I noticed he was on. I was like, oh, I know that kid from the basketball games. I've wanted to go. They only had one home game this year, and it was a game when I had like family stuff going on, so I couldn't even attend it. Matt says, I think we could get a lot of Wisconsin high school guys that aren't good enough to go to the UW-Madison. I just don't know where we're putting the stadium. Okay, let's get back to this. So first off, the money thing. $5 million a year is a lot to commit. The other question people will have is, oh God, Title IX. What about Title IX? Because with Title IX, you have to have equity. You have to have women's scholarships have to have like an equal amount to men's scholarships. Well, this is where I have some wonderful news for everybody in Milwaukee, because this university, for as long as I have been here, is not only compliant with Title IX, where you have to have within 5% of the your scholarship ratio has to be within 5% of the overall student body. So if you have 50% male, 50% female, you have to have at least 45% of your scholarships for intercollegiate athletics have to be for females, at least 45%. It's got to be within 5% of it. When I was in school, at the end of it, when I last started the football study, we were at 51% female, 49% male. Our scholarship situation is actually about 56 to 57% female to male for athletic scholarships. So if you were to add a football team, we would actually have about 50-50 split, which would be way over compliant with Title IX. So when people complain about Title IX, that would not be a problem in this situation. We would not have to add any single women's sports. If we do, cut baseball and add softball. Boom. Sorry, baseball. I'm not advocating we cut baseball. Good friend of mine's the head coach. Go to baseball games. Franklin Field's awesome. I want us to do well in baseball. I love being able to shove it in my friends at Madison's face that they don't have a team. I love that I have that. But you say the money, $5 million is a lot of money. Well, if you get 5,000 students that are coming to this school because we have a football program and it's 5,000 a semester. Oh, God. It's 5,000 students times 10,000 a year. When people always love to talk about how for most of Division I, for most schools, football is not profitable. And that is true when you're only considering ticket sales and concession sales and merch sales and corporate sponsorships and whatever have you. When you're only counting those things, that makes sense, right? You've got 120 FBS schools, or maybe like 130 now. I don't know. They keep adding schools. You got like 130 schools in FBS, 120 schools in FCS. The last school that cut football was Hofstra around 2008. It was a tiny private school in New York City. Of all those schools, so many of them, almost, in fact, like 90% of them claim to lose money. Why are none of them cutting their programs in an era where like tightening your belt is, fait accompli at pretty much every corner of the university? That right there is why. Because as much as people don't want to admit it, Athletics is almost visited Hofstra. Fun fact. That is cool, Matt Essman. Wayne Krebet, New York Jets wide receiver from when I was a kid. Wayne Krebet played at Hofstra. Pie in the Sky says, all it takes is confident and aggressive visionary to lead and sell this plan. Let's do it. It's about that, right? And then you say, well, but here's the problem, Jimmy. The problem is, where do we get this stadium? And let me tell you, I'm going to show you right now. We're going to make this a little smaller. So we have on campus, right? We have Downer Woods. Oops. Let's screw this. We're just gonna make it bigger than me for the moment. Nope. Oh, that there. That's what I wanted. Okay. This is campus. That's campus. Downer Woods, Sandberg Towers. Here's the Kalachi Center. Here's the Union with the Guest House. Speedy Claxton Hofstra. Good name there, Frank. Here's Engelman Stadium. Here's my apartment for anybody who wants to, chase me down. We are landlocked. I know you look at these woods and you say, hey, let's just burn the woods down and build a football stadium there. First off, these are all houses. And they're all houses of rich people who will fight you to the end of time. Also, pretty important to bring up is the fact that Downer Woods is protected status. So you can't actually take down Downer Woods. Downer Woods is protected land. Trust me, I have read 1,000,000 times. I have read it 1,000,000 times. The law is ironclad. You would need the university to buy up like a shit ton of land somewhere else to move it. Pie in the Sky says Chicago State's fundraising to start football. No way they're in the better shape than we are. I agree. There's other benefits, but let's get to the stadium first. If you widen it, the other problem, everywhere around here is still residential area. You move down, you're not going into Lake Park. I'm sorry. I love football, but like Lake Park is a gem. You're not doing that. The only like possible idea that, and I'm not even like a huge fan of it, is if you were to go to Riverside and be like, hey, we're going to build a football stadium in your backyard. I don't know what this Madeline Boyle is doing here. The only thing is like, okay, if you build a football stadium here next to the Arboretum, but like, that's kind of ridiculous. Cause also like, what is like everybody going to go into like Goodwill or like, Oakland Euros? Like there's some space for entertainment here. There's not a ton. Maybe enough for like 5,000 to 8,000 seats. But then again, you're building the whole stadium yourself. And that's the point of this, is that Milwaukee does not have the money to build a stadium. It's why we don't have a team right now. So the most important thing is having a partner to build a football stadium, and to build a football stadium that we can play 8 or 9, games in. If we're in the FCS tournament, 8 or 9 games a season, that's not a lot of dates. And we can figure out a practice facility. We can put up a bubble for a few $1 million. Maybe that's what we do at Riverside, is we put up a bubble or something. Or maybe we do it on the surface lot by one of the parking lots or something. One of these up here. maybe at like by the Estabrook Park, the Estabrook Park surface parking lot that's like only like a third used the entire time anymore because a lot of students live on campus. I'm going to show you this right now. This is where we're building the stadium. It's exactly where Frank was talking about. It's exactly where Milwaukee Pro Soccer wants to build. You build it right here. You have 6th Street right here. You have this the football stadium space was planned to go like on this lot. So when you look at the entire parcel, there is a lot of space here. There's also access to Jim Lovell Street. There's basically access to every direction. I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm sorry if you love this part of 794. I want to tear that shit down so goddamn bad. It is an awful blight, and it's going to cost Wisconsin taxpayers billions of dollars just to have a street that has the amount of cars on it every day that is the amount of cars west of Capitol Drive, west of 124th Street on Capitol Drive does not justify its existence. But the point is that you have all of this access to it. There's a new apartment building right here that they built. They tore down the Best Western building. There's this space that I went and checked out today. And then you have where Butch's Steakhouse used to be back in the day. All that space is done. Milwaukee Tool has renovated this into their world headquarters. There is some apartment buildings around here. 7th and Wisconsin. So this building right here, you have the Hilton, which is great. Like, let's have the Hilton, or the Hilton's over here. On this building on 7th and Wisconsin, you have the Clark Oil building. Clark Oil used to be a very big oil company that was based in West Allis, and they had a big office building downtown. That was this. It just hit the news the other day. They're going to be turning the top 12 floors into affordable apartments. You have a DoubleTree Hilton right there. You have a bunch of small stuff going around here, a bunch of small restaurants and things. The Wisconsin Tower, my wife and I were looking at moving there. We decided to, take some more time. But the Baird Center is here. The Panther Arena is here. The district's there. The Deer District's there. Kohl's, that's part of the Grand Avenue Mall, the 3rd Street. Lezo's Taco is fantastic. You have more hotels. You have the Plaza, which would be a fantastic spot. You have the Hilton. This car garage right here should be torn down and rebuilt as because it's just not very it's not very efficient with the amount of spaces it has in the building. But within 5 blocks of this proposed stadium, you have all of this area that needs redevelopment. This building can come down. 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 Rebuild it. All mixed use, all walkable, all of it to cover all of the bases. Parking for the people who are coming from the suburbs. Housing, preferably thousands of apartments and condos. Mix of market rate and affordable housing. And you do it all right around that soccer stadium. Capco, Jim Kazmarek is having trouble getting it done. He needs money to get the stadium done. Number one reason we do not have a football program is because we do not have the money to build a stadium. Think about it for a second, guys. Put our pocketbooks together, figure it out. Milwaukee Athletics, Jim Kazmarek, Marquette Athletics. 3 partners. And that's why I want you all to keep this shit to yourselves. Because this is what happened. I'm going to tell you a little bit. If football was played, we'd probably have to put an artificial turf show. Not sure USL and Marquette Soccer's thoughts on that. I get the feeling that Marquette Soccer is going to go with whatever happens. I think Valley Fields is field turf now, if I remember correctly. I think Valley Fields is field turf. I do know that I know Engelman Stadium has field turf on it, so that's not like, it's not an issue. What I will say is that the stadium isn't going to get done unless they can figure out how to bring somebody else into it. And we are the only other group that makes sense. There is one other group that makes quite a bit of sense. And this is why I want everybody to shut the hell up and not talk about this very much outside of this. If you do, keep it with UWM people. Don't talk about this extensively online. If you want to talk about it in Twitter, talk about it in DM groups. And the reason for that is this. I'm going to show you this. This is why I do not want anybody talking about this right now. You say, why, Jimmy? What does Marquette Lacrosse have to do with it? They're going to be one of the teams that's in there. Yeah, well, if they're one of the teams that's in there, I should probably explain to you how Marquette Lacrosse came to be. There was a student that was writing for the school paper, and that student went and visited a sibling during spring break. And while they visited a sibling during spring break, this sibling was in Baltimore, where there's a school called Johns Hopkins University, which is basically like the Duke of lacrosse. Well, Duke is the Duke of lacrosse. Johns Hopkins lacrosse is like the Notre Dame or like the Ohio State of lacrosse. Like they are the team. They've got the most national championships. They're a big deal. This student went to Johns Hopkins, took in a game. Number 1 Johns Hopkins versus number 2 Virginia, number 1 Virginia, number 2 Johns Hopkins. It was a regular season game. It was broadcast on ESPN, and there were 20,000 people in the stadium. It was the closest thing that college student had ever seen to be like a football thing. That college student wanted football at Marquette. Wanted football at Marquette, knew it wasn't going to happen, went to lacrosse, saw lacrosse, and then decided, I'm going to sell the university on starting a lacrosse program. Except that student was not a Marquette student. That student was a Milwaukee student. That student was me. I was the sports editor of the UWM Post, which at the time had a actual print newspaper on, David Go was fantastic, but David No also did not, he wrote for an online publication. The readership of the UWM Post during his time is very, very small. I feel bad about that because he did phenomenal work right before he graduated this last fall. I highly recommend everybody follow him wherever he goes. He's great. But he wrote for a website blog. I was the sports editor of the UWM Post when we had 12,000 weekly physical newspapers in circulation. And when I went to visit my sister in Baltimore, Maryland for my junior year spring break, I fell in love with lacrosse. And by fall in love, I mean like I loved the experience that I had. I had friends in college. I had a friend in college, Jack Peterson, was on our club lacrosse team. Club lacrosse is a pretty big deal. Back then, they would play the club lacrosse national championships for like college club lacrosse were like played at like the new Cowboy Stadium. Like it was a pretty big deal. And like I think they had like 80,000 people for like a club, not even like NCAA lacrosse. But I came home and I was like, this is the sport we should play. We can't play football. We can't play hockey. I was never like loved hockey, but like I'd be happy with it. If we can't have football, let's play lacrosse. And I made in my the first 3 issues after spring break, I came home and made an impassioned argument that Milwaukee needs to start a lacrosse program, and that will be something that we can have that nobody else has. It was a couple features. I had a whole breakdown of statistics. I had the argument all laid out. I laid it out over 3 issues, and it was very, very persuasive. It was very, very persuasive to these fucking guys. So when I tell you to keep Panther football on the down low, I mean keep it on the down low, because I'm going to be doing a mountain of research over the next several months. I'm going to be speaking with Capco, with Jim Kazmarek, because I'm going to make a pitch. And I'm going to make a pitch to the university. And I need everybody to be quiet about it until I'm ready to make that pitch. Because when I make that pitch, we need to make sure that that pitch is not just heard, but succeeds. I used to be the drum beater for football. I stopped being the drum beater when I accepted that we would never be able to have a team, because you would have to have tens of millions of dollars to build a football stadium. Maybe it's not possible. You know, maybe it's not possible with the program that we have here, with our space and time right now. Maybe it's not possible. But if there is an inkling of possibility, we have to do this the best way that we can. I highly, highly, highly recommend getting into, hey kitty, highly recommend getting into, it's the Panthers live mascot, Sirius Panther. I highly recommend getting into the Discord for Panther U. I'm gonna I got a create a private channel specifically for football stuff. That dude, like 3 people in the Discord are playing EA Sports college football right now. Like, come on. People want this shit. People want football. It's an inevitability. Like you have, that is an inevitable question that will always be asked. And you can say, well, basketball will suffer. And I will tell you that hasn't been my experience. Because programs that I think are lesser than us are having benefits for their for their basketball program, because they have football programs. We need to get out of the Horizon League, and getting a football program might just be the way for us as a university, might be just the way for us as a university to get the This might be a way for us to get like in the Missouri Valley Conference for football. So the Missouri Valley Football Conference and the Missouri Valley Conference are two separate entities. For those who don't know, the Missouri Valley Conference is a better conference than us in athletics. Better for baseball, better for soccer, better for basketball. They routinely have sent more at-large teams to the NCAA tournament than we have. When Loyola left us and then went to the Final Four, they did so from the MVC. We have lost all of our regional opponents. Sarah, let's put it this way, since you're in the chat and you're the one active student that I know is here. When I was a student, there were 10 schools in the Horizon League. There were the two Wisconsin schools, Milwaukee and there was the two Wisconsin schools, Milwaukee and Green Bay. There were two schools in Chicago, Loyola and UIC. There were two schools in Indiana. Valpo came in when I was a sophomore, junior. Butler was already there. There were three schools in Ohio and one school in Michigan. Cleveland State and Detroit were about an hour and a half away from each other. Youngstown State and Wright State were there. We had perfect travel all the time for our team, for our program. That perfect travel was my spotlights are starting to bust down on me, so it might be a little weird, although it looks a little wonky as it is. We had within a 3.5 hour drive. That was the drive to Butler, to Indianapolis. We had not one, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conference road games in the Horizon League. Green Bay was our third closest school. Loyola was an hour away. UIC was about an hour and 20 minutes away. Green Bay was 2 hours away. Valpo was about 2 hours and 20 minutes away. Butler is about an hour, 3.5, almost 4 hours away. We had an incredible distance to so many conference road games. It didn't matter. If Valpo was a Thursday night, you could go. If UIC or Loyola was a Thursday night, you'd be going. How we had 50 or 100 people at the Green Bay game, we had that. We could have that at every single road game that we went to, except for like half the conference. There's a reason why I still have not been to Cleveland State, and it's because I never had a reason to when I was a student. I saved all of my money to go to the short games. I would always make the Indiana trip. You'd have a Thursday night at Valpo or in Indianapolis at Butler. The Saturday, if you played Valpo, you'd play Butler at noon. If you play, and this is Eastern time in Indianapolis, Central time in Valpo, by the way. Indiana's so fucked up. You'd have Valparaiso at 7 o'clock on Saturday, or Indianapolis at noon against Butler. Now, you have IUPUI or IU Indy. You have Green Bay. Fort Wayne is about the same distance IU Indy is. You know, with Butler, you know, if you had a Thursday night game at Butler in Indianapolis, you would make it because it was Butler. Because that's the other thing. We don't have, you know... Detroit Mercy Callahan Hall's cool. It ain't Hinkle Fieldhouse. The Wolstein Center is cavernous. The Nutter Center has one very beautiful memory for me in 2014. You know, I'd like to see Northern Kentucky. I'd love to go to the Beagley Center at Youngstown. I'd love to go to Moon Township and shove my cancer in the face of all these assholes at Robert Morris, who were, especially that student manager yesterday. What a douchebag. But let me be perfectly clear. The Horizon League's center of gravity has moved east on us. And because it's moved east, we don't fit the conference as much anymore. And the Missouri Valley is a better conference for all sports. It's a better conference geographically. and it's just a better fit completely. I'd love to make the trip to the arena. If we decide to leave the Horizon League, I will make sure that last year at the arena I'll make that trip. And I would love to keep a series going with Oakland. I know we used to play them in like soccer and stuff before they were in the conference, and like I'd like to keep all that stuff going, but like Oakland is 6.5 hours away from us. It's not. It would be the furthest. If we joined with Oakland in the Missouri Valley, they would be the furthest school from us. Because the furthest distance school from us was a 6.5 hour drive to Missouri State, and Missouri State's the school that's leaving the Missouri Valley Conference. You have shorter drives to Drake and UNI. You have short trips to Evansville and Indiana State. You have a short trip to Peoria to play Bradley. A 5-hour drive is like one of the longest ones, but that's to go see to Carbondale to see us play Southern Illinois, where Scott Nagy just left. Frank, I will talk to you. I'll see you there, and yeah, I'm sure we'll talk online. The point is, Sarah, is that the Missouri Valley fits us a lot better. There are schools people have heard of that are in that conference, and our position in getting into that conference would be a lot better if we already had, say, a football program in the Missouri Valley Conference. I understand that they are seen as two separate identities. They have the same conference office. The same administration runs both conferences. So the Missouri Valley Conference and the Missouri Valley Football Conference say they are different. They really are not. They are one entity that has just two different groups that carry different sides of it. And might I say, let me also say this: the Missouri Valley Football Conference is the best conference in Division I of FCS, the 1AA schools. The 1AA schools where you're going to the NCAA tournament at the end of the year instead of playing in like the Poinsettia Toilet Bowl or something. Those schools are, the strong schools in that are the Dakota schools: North Dakota, South Dakota, North Dakota State, South Dakota, Youngstown State, Missouri State's leaving. UNI is where Kurt Warner played at Northern Iowa. These are all strong programs. Packer fans, you like Christian Watson? He played at North Dakota State. This is one of the schools that would be in our conference if we were to play football. And to play at that level of going to the national championship games or going to the NCAA tournament every year is about $5,000 a season, and about $5 million a year. And that is doable, especially when you consider what the bump in enrollment is for that kind of program. So I want help with research. I want help with scheming for it. I want help from everybody in the everybody who's interested. We need to do it. We'll talk to Joe. We'll talk to Joe about doing a watch party at Dream Lounge Social. Probably the Friday night game, I would assume. But I'd like to get that done as well. Let's talk to him this week. I'm also going to be dipping out in a second, but I did want to say about Northern Illinois. Somebody asked earlier, is Northern Illinois, do we have an update on them? Are they coming to the Horizon League? They should. And this is why. They should come to the Horizon League. We could all attend Arch Madness since it's Thursday through Sunday, a much better sell to our fans. 100%. For those who have been fans of this of Panther U for a long time, you know that I am no fan of the destination tournament. that is playing the Horizon League tournament at a specific destination. Sarah, before they moved it to Detroit, and then after that it was after Detroit they moved it to Indianapolis, where it's been for a bunch of years now. I think it's like 6 or 7 years now it's been there. Before then, take care, Stack. Before then, the number 1 seed in the Horizon League tournament got a double bye. So did the number 2 seed. Except the number 1 seed got to host the Horizon League tournament. So you had the first round on Tuesday, quarterfinals on Friday, semifinals on Saturday, and then whoever's left, whoever's the 1 seed on Tuesday, or the top seed remaining, hosts the championship game on Tuesday. That is almost exactly what we have now. Hi, kitty. He doesn't like being held. He loves pets. He doesn't like being held. So right now, the quarterfinals, semifinals, the quarterfinals are on campus sites. And then you have the semifinals on Monday night and the championship on Tuesday. And the problem is that you're trying to sell tickets to school fans for all these schools all around the conference. You're trying to sell them on tickets for this tournament that takes place. There's only 4 teams that are going to be in the tournament once it gets to the destination, because there's only 2 days in Indianapolis. It's Monday and Tuesday. And the reason it's Monday and Tuesday instead of like Saturday, Sunday is because the Horizon Leagues deal with ESPN. ESPN is looking for programming. They want programming. They want it Tuesday night. The Summit League Championship, the West Coast Conference Championship, the Horizon League Championship, all on Tuesday night. They do not want... They want the Horizon League to stay in that slot. So the problem is that when you compare us to the Missouri Valley, it shows why very few people actually make the trek. When we were in the Horizon League Championship game this past March, 10 months ago, when we were there were, what would anybody say? Like 100, 150 Milwaukee fans that were there. And I'm talking about like fans with for team, like parents and girlfriends too. It was not great. Oakland came with 600, but they also won the conference, so they were more expecting to be there. But the point is that you only have 4 teams that are there, so the amount of games that people are playing, there's only 3 total games. And there's only 4 of the 11 teams that are there. Everybody else is already home. So because it's midweek for people, for adults who are graduates, right? Yeah, 100 probably is the cap on that number. So for, when you're talking about people who are working adults, who are graduated and moved on, Arch Madness, they call it Arch Madness for the Missouri Valley because it takes place in St. Louis, where the Arch is. Arch Madness is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The first round is on Thursday, second round's on Friday, semifinals on Saturday, championship on Sunday. By the way, that championship on Sunday is not on ESPN, it's on CBS. It's over the air in every home that has a television. ESPN, granted, has like a 98%, is in like 98% of television homes, but the fact is we have to get there, because every school is in Arch Madness, so everybody makes the plan to be there every year because you're going to be there. If we fall apart, we don't know if we're going to be in Indianapolis in 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So we just have no idea if we're even going to be there. But if we were in the MVC, we'd know, yeah, we'll be in Arch Madness. If we fall apart and lose on the first day, that sucks, but then we have the rest of it. Now, that's a tournament I'd be able to attend. Yeah, exactly, because taking a Thursday through Sunday off is no big deal because most people don't work Saturday, Sunday. And the championship game is at like 1 o'clock or something on Sunday. So you're home in Milwaukee by, Sunday night. But should Northern Illinois be in the conference? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because DeKalb is what? What is DeKalb from us? Let's open up the maps. DeKalb, Illinois. Ooh, beautiful. DeKalb, Illinois, which is where, and I'll just use my location because that's where I'm from. DeKalb, Illinois is. Oh, it says my location. For some reason, it thinks my location is here. We'll just do it from my house. If you walk, it's 39 hours. If you drive, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. 2 hours and 7 minutes from Milwaukee to DeKalb. Or 2 hours and 12 minutes if you go this way. Or 2 hours and 7 minutes if you go that way. The point is that you have a number of different options to go to. I don't think I want that light on. You have a number of different options to go to get here to DeKalb. So for whatever sport you want to go to, if that sport is, say that sport is soccer, which, oh, by the way, Milwaukee has a long-standing rivalry. We have a long-standing rivalry with Northern Illinois in soccer. We have a traveling trophy called the Lewang Cup. We play them every single year. There are 3 schools we have traveling trophies with. And all 3 of them, we have won more than we've lost. The Chancellor's Cup with Green Bay, the Milwaukee Cup with Marquette, and the Lewang Trophy with Northern Illinois. And we won them all. Unfortunately, the Lewang Cup is the only one we have right now. But that's a rivalry game. That's a 2-hour drive, and we'd all be able to attend those games. It's great. Then you get basketball games. We'd be able to take over that gym. And it's a 2-hour drive. It's basically like going to Green Bay. In fact, so why would we not want to do that? I don't get it. But the reason people don't want them is obvious. It's because Northern Illinois sucks at basketball. Northern Illinois has not been good at basketball for a very long time. In fact, let's just quick bring it up. NIU basketball, 12th in the MAC. Great. Fantastic. 12th in the MAC. The NVIU Convocation Center. They have 3 NCAA tournament appearances in Division I. If you can see that right there. Look at that. 1982, 91, and 96. Sarah, you were not alive the last time when they were in the NCAA tournament. Do they, that one tournament they won in 1996 was in our conference, the Missouri, or the Midwestern Collegiate Conference, which is now the Horizon League. There are no Illinois schools in the Horizon League. You want one. And I want them because here's the other thing. If I bring Northern Illinois to my conference, that is one less school I'm worried about going to the Missouri Valley Conference. Northern Illinois loses and falls apart. In the Horizon League, big deal. Green Bay sucks right now. IU Indy's been terrible last few years until this year. Detroit Mercy is getting up off the map, but they've been bad for several years. So there's precedence. And this is a one-bid league. I want to get into the Missouri Valley because I want, that's usually a one-bid league like the Horizon League. But when you're going to the tournament, you're usually an 11 to 11, 12 or 13 seed rather than a 14, 15 or 16 seed. That's the number one reason I want to get there, because when we went to the Sweet 16, we were a 12 seed. When we went to the second round, we were an 11 seed. I want to be in a conference where we can get those kinds of results when we go to the NCAA tournament. If we say this team here wins out and goes to the NCAA tournament, even if we won every single game the rest of the year, it's likely that we might even be like a 14 seed. And when you're playing when you're a 14, you're playing a 3 seed, and a 3 seed's a lot harder to beat than a 5 or a 6. So I'm gonna wrap things up here. We just crossed the 2-hour mark. I told you I was gonna be done at 8:30. It's almost 9:30. I'm sorry, I gotta apologize to my wife, but I'm sure she fell asleep watching TV. So again, guys, let me say thank you. Not just for being a part of this, but, being a part of this special thing for me. It's a great distraction. The name of the book is The Cinderella Strategy. The Cinderella Strategy, the game plan behind Butler University's rise to prominence. We were... Rob Jeter built a team that was set to go to the NCAA tournament, and then we ran into the hardest. We ran into the greatest mid-major basketball team of all time. And it's bad luck, but, we didn't get it done. It is what it is. I want to be in a conference where that isn't necessarily a death sentence, I want to be in a conference where we can win. And go to the tournament and go deep in the tournament. And also, I love football, man. I miss caring about football. I grew up a Badger fan like so many people in this state. I love the fifth quarter going to Badger games. I loved the fifth quarter after the game where they play all the songs. You've said it all, and if you want to be a Badger, just come along with me. And they'd have Space Badgers and all those different songs. And that was always fun to me. I would love to take Milwaukee, start a football program, and then with a marching band. Dude, like, have you ever seen like our student body makeup? We have a very large black population of students. Could we get like an HBCU level marching band at Milwaukee? Dude, just look up historically black colleges and universities. Look up their marching bands. A lot of them are absolutely insane. I feel like you could have like a really good marching band at Milwaukee. Like, do it. It'd be fucking awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna dip out, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the well wishes. I'll keep you updated. I'll probably tweet out about it, when I get the results from the CT scan tomorrow. Maybe not immediately. Although if it shows nothing, I'm going to be like immediately tweeting like, I'm fucking good, let's go. So if I don't tweet it, you're going to notice it's going to suck. But I love you all. I will talk to you later. Go Panthers, and let's hope we get a couple wins this week. Adios.